Hi! So, I went to see The High Note earlier. I went to watch this film when it felt like the world was on fire. So I had no expectation really for this film. I thought it was going to be an easy rom-com, and I kind of just gated through it because I needed to escape from reality for 2 hours. So when I went to my local cinema, the room went dark for 2 hours, and that was exactly what I needed. You cannot underestimate the power of cinema. Even though after the film I went right back into this hellhole we call Earth right now, I'm glad for the 2 hours that this did give me. The High Note stars Dakota Johnson and Tracee Ellis Ross, who is basically playing her mother, Diana Ross. I mean, not really, not literally. She is playing kind of like a version, in my opinion, of her mother. The film felt like a huge homage to her mother, who is a successful singer, and I think the big hair and like the extravagant love songs really reminded me of Diana Ross as well. It's not a coincidence. I think she picked this project also because of that. I imagine that the script really spoke to her because in the story the character had to make certain sacrifices in her life in order to be famous, and I think as a child growing up she probably knew the sacrifices her mother had to make. It has some sharp commentaries about female singers in their 40s and also just women in music in general. However, it never dived too deep into struggles because first and foremost, this is a feel-good film. I honestly didn't mind. Dakota Johnson was great in her role, although I think Tracee Ellis Ross totally stole the show here. She was absolutely the gem. Dakota Johnson plays this aspiring producer who is working as an assistant for Tracee Ellis Ross's character, and you can tell that she's kind of like an outsider trying to get into the music industry and struggling to do that, and you watching this also feel like an outsider, and she's kind of like the mold that takes you in to the world. So it's interesting to see the world from her point of view. At first, Tracee Ellis Ross's character was a bit aloof. She was at the top of her game, but she was also kind of slowing down. She hasn't released any new materials in 10 years, and this was her turning point of whether she wants to play it safe or she wants to do something more risky and release something completely new instead of releasing a live album or best of album. But as the movie went on, she kind of went on her own journey, and she learned to be more sympathetic towards Dakota Johnson's character, and in the end there were no real villain in the movie, although everybody was looking out for their own interest. But everybody is just taking care of each other, so it's nice to have a film where there's not really toxic people in it. Also, in the end, Tracee Ellis Ross, her character, did not really lose all of her aloofness and her charm that made part of her character interesting. She's just kind of become a more like three-dimensional character. I heard that some people say that the twist at the end was unnecessary, although I don't really agree. I'm not gonna dive too much into it in this review, but basically I thought that the twist gave Tracee Ellis Ross's character more depth, and it also outlined one of the many sacrifices that she had to make in order to be famous. Although me as a person that is not in the entertainment industry, I just want to say to everybody that you don't have to become famous. Like, I know a lot of these movies like The High Note or Hollywood or The Artist, all of these movies, they like to tell you that you have to be famous, otherwise you're nothing. But you know, the world needs doctors, we need lawyers, we need teachers, we need nurses. It's completely fine if you don't become a producer or work in the entertainment industry. There's more to life than outside, although Hollywood will beg to differ, but it's not real life. We don't all have to be entertainers, which is a bit ironic because I'm kind of doing this for free, and I have to remind myself every day why I'm doing this, otherwise it's a bit silly, because obviously I'm not earning any money from this and I'm just spending more and more money on buying equipment. I thought the cinematography was great. It showed a really nice LA downtown look to it, you know, all the neon light. I've never been to anywhere in America, so all of my references of America is from movies, which I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but I like glamorized places, and there's nowhere else that Hollywood do better than their own downtown. So I really like the look of this, like the dark low lights when they're visiting the studio or when they go outside. Absolutely fantastic. I love movies in general about the entertainment industries because it shows you what Hollywood thinks is important, and I love the music in this. I thought it was very catchy. I thought the playlist they chose was absolutely brilliant, which did not surprise me because of the film subject. Tracee Ellis Ross sang some of the songs, although I wish she didn't, because some of the songs near the end sounded like heavily auto-tuned, so maybe someone else should have sang it, or maybe should have less belting songs. Just a suggestion. So, would I recommend the film? Well, do you like fluffy film about fame and fortune? Then yes. Or are you looking for an Oscar bait movie that will tickle your brain intellectually? Yes. Stop being pretentious and support your local cinema. So that was my side of the discussion. What did you think of it? Why don't you leave me a comment and let me know? In the meanwhile, stay safe, wash your hands, and see you next time!